What's up, coolers, and welcome back to Barça Dream Team. And today we're going to be discussing a huge topic, guys, because we're talking about Lionel Messi. We're discussing how he'll slot into Barca if he was to make his return in 2023. We hope you'll subscribe and hit that notification bell. We're super excited about today's video, guys, so let's get started.
But first, guys, it's important to mention that this is not the same Barca Messi left 2 seasons ago. This team has really changed for the better. You know, we've moved on some very high earners at the club, and we're much more financially stable as a result of that. We've already brought in some top-class elite players in areas of the pitch where we were lacking before, but I'm sure every Barca fan would still be eager to snatch the chance of making Messis' return a reality.
But first, to understand Messi's position at Barca, let's take a look into the past. Now, under Pep Guardiola, Messi played in quite an unusual role. He played as a false 9. Now, that was quite an unconventional position at the time, but it's one that suited Leo very well, in fact. Now, Barcelona was still using the 4-3-3 formation, but it did start to look a lot like the 4-3-1-2 as games progressed. Messi was normally sitting a bit deeper than the wingers, and they were able to drift inward and pull defenders out of position too. Now, as a centre forward, Messi was the creative force that drove the attack. He was always able to roam freely in that position, causing all sorts of problems. And most importantly, he was occupying the defenders, creating space for teammates to drift into. And then he could pick out a pass, setting them through on goal.
But after Pep, the eventual arrival of Luis Enrique saw the switch to a more traditional 4-3-3. And then we had the signing of Luis Suarez, a typical number 9, who I have to say he had a shaky start at first, as he was quickly shifted over to the now vacant right-hand side. Now, after average performances from the famed South American trio of Messi, Suarez and Neymar, Messi was switched over to the right-hand side, with Suarez leading the line down the middle. Now, that meant that the false 9 position didn't exist, and Leo played more advanced as a high-flying right winger under Luis Enrique. But he also had the freedom to cut inside and take shots on his left foot as he pleased. In all honesty, adding Luis Suarez to the mix was always going to shake up the Barcelona attack. The formation of MSN with 3 deadly scorers in front of goal meant that Lucho rightly tried to get more creativity out of Messi on the right wing, and that paid off in a major way.
And Messi's role didn't change much under the managers who succeeded Lucho, but in a way that led to his creative spark becoming slightly predictable. Under Quique Setien and Ronald Koeman, Messi's movements were easily picked up by the opposition, and that saw creative drop-off as defences anticipated Leo drifting in centrally from wide areas on the right wing. So the bottom line is, perhaps Messi isn't quite suited to the wing anymore. Now, although we've seen a resurgence in Messi's international career on the right wing, I don't think we would see the same success against elite defences in La Liga and in the Champions League. We know how physically demanding the position is. How many times do we see Dembele and Rafinha flying up and down the wings, delivering crosses, whilst also tracking back in defence? That's something that's really helped our wings to function this season and stop the fullbacks from being exploited. We've really seen fewer spaces opening up at the back this season, with the emphasis being for wingers to help out in defence as well.
And you have to ask yourself, would a 35-year-old Lionel Messi really be able to perform at the highest level if he had that kind of responsibility? And to be honest, the answer is probably not. We need Messi to be free to do what he does best in the final third, not shackle him with defensive responsibilities in our own half. And then you would be right in thinking that another possible solution could be to play him up front as the number 9. If Messi was to return, he would automatically become the most potent attacker and clinical finisher at the club. So it's not unrealistic to suggest playing him as the striker. But dropping a fully fit and firing Robert Lewandowski to the bench just doesn't seem right. We can't just rely on Messi for goals, because it's safe to say that Lever can chip in here and there. or perhaps we could switch to a two up front. We've seen strike partnerships becoming more successful and common in the modern game. You think of Sadio Mane and Thomas Muller, or Romelu Lukaku and Lautaro Martinez, and the possibility of Robert Lewandowski and Lionel Messi linking up at the top is enough to strike fear into any defender.
But as the game becomes more physical and end-to-end, would Messi realistically have the potential to lead dangerous counter-attacks? Elite defences are becoming more and more physical and pacey, and that's forcing big clubs to search for youthful speedsters up front. Ask yourself, what makes Erling Haaland so prolific? You might think it's his ability to fire the ball past the keeper. Well, yes and no. Goal scoring is important, but it's also his speed, physicality and dynamism that gets him into dangerous areas time and time again. It's not like in the days of Diego Costa and Luis Suarez, when the sole emphasis was on occupying the centre-backs and poaching for goals. Europe's biggest clubs are searching for physicality and speed too. So in an era when speed matters more than ever, would it be sensible to rely on a 35-year-old to lead our line? It would be so easy to get left behind if nostalgia is the driving factor in this transfer. We need to think practically whether Messi as a striker is a viable option, and to that I have to say no, it's not. But how would Xavi Hernandez make his mark on the team? Now, it's really no secret that Xavi's wanted to coach Messi for a long time now, and the best position for Messi in Xavi's Barcelona would be as the number 10, or false 9 just behind the striker. And in quite a perfect way, that would see him revert to the position he played in under Pep. Now, Xavi has always repeated that everyone starts from zero, but surely Leo Messi wouldn't. Surely we have to build the team around Messi as he enters the twilight of his career. Would you actually consider changing the whole system just for Messi? We could potentially switch to a 4-2-3-1 with a double pivot of Pedri and Xavi acting as the deep-lying playmakers, and then you could keep the attacking trio of Rafinha, Dembele and Lewandowski, and just behind would be Messi.
And you think of the endless options. He can pick out a pass to Dembele. You know, Messi can very easily play in out wide to Rafinha. Messi should be able to track the runs of Robert Lewandowski, or he could even make a run himself. So he's got much more options there. And adding Messi to the team would really reduce the creative burden on Ousmane Dembele and Rafinha to make things happen. You look back to previous seasons, how teams would pin 2, 3 or 4 men on Messi, and he'd still be able to break through. Now, if teams still did that today, Dembele and Rafinha could run riot on the wings when Messi occupies defenders. And the same could be said the other way around. Dembele is perfectly capable of drawing defenders out of position, opening little pockets of space for Leo to drift into.
But another thing to consider is the fact that Messi's arrival into the midfield dynamic would put the futures of De Jong and Kessié in doubt. Messi would undoubtedly be one of the first names on the team sheet, no matter who we play against. So will De Jong and Kessié be pegged down even further in the pecking order? We have to wonder if this is the best course of action, to reduce 2 world-class talents to squad rotation players.
But off the pitch, what would you actually do to bring in Messi? If you were Laporta, what extent would you go to? You know, we've been hearing in the media about Messi demanding Gerard Piqué's exit before he is to return. Now that's on the back of the rumoured bust-up between the veterans after Messi left. But let us know in the comments, guys, would you do that? I think I probably would. It's probably about time for Piqué to be moved on. Xavi himself left the club when he acknowledged that he wasn't at the elite level anymore. And to be honest, I think Piqué doesn't have much to give anymore. He's been slowly declining season after season. It's time for new blood, just as Piqué himself said after our humiliation against Bayern. At that point, we had to keep him, but now, with emerging defensive talents like Koundé and Araujo, we can afford to take that risk. And if his exit means Messi's return, then I have to say it has to be done. But what would the wages look like? You can't have Messi earning too much. I'm sure he would even play for free if he could. But you do have to factor in those strict La Liga rules about salaries. We've seen it before. No player can earn less than 50% of their salary from the previous season. And we don't know for sure what he's on at the minute with PSG. We've heard of President Laporta's strict wage cap. No one can earn more than a net salary of 10 million euros. But does that rule maybe bend a little to facilitate Messi's return? To be honest, guys, I hope not. We've seen that situation before where each player wants to earn more than the next guy, and that's somewhere where we don't want to be again. I think we have to stay firm and encourage Javier Tebas to give in and increase our wage cap to a more manageable figure. I'm sure he wouldn't turn down the chance to get his hands on the riches that Messi would generate by returning to La Liga.
Another thing to think about will be the revenue. It seems a bit strange to focus on the financial side of things, considering what Messi brings to the team on the pitch, but he can really help the club's financial situation further. Think about how when Messi left, fans stopped coming to support. Attendances dropped from 80 to 90,000 to 20 to 30,000 a match. But with the world-class players we now have and the bright future of our La Masia talents, attendances have returned to the more stable 80,000 mark. But surely the return of Lionel Messi would ensure a full house in every match, home or away.
And then another thing would be the shirt sales. We saw how Ronaldo's return to the Premier League at United saw the entirety of his transfer fee being recouped by shirt sales alone. Think about the impact of Messi's return to his boyhood club, where he spent 17 years of his life developing into the world's greatest player. And then what about the transfer fee? How much would you be willing to pay? I think we can't overspend for Messi. It wouldn't be a good precedent to set. PSG will definitely try to squeeze every last euro out of us, but the ideal option would probably be to make the move next summer when Messi will be a free agent.
And when we're talking about the contract situation, what would that look like? We can't tie him down for too long. We would realistically need to start looking for other options for the future as well. I think the best way to go would be to hand him a 1-year contract with the option to extend for a further season, because we do have to factor in things like his salary and his age. But if Messi was to win the Champions League with PSG, would that change his mind? You know, would he think that his last purpose in European football is over? He might think that he would no longer need to return to Barcelona to win that last UCL title. And what if he wins the World Cup this winter? Would he think it's time to retire?
But either way, guys, it would be a dream come true to have Messi back again. You take a look at last weekend against Mallorca, and the fact that we struggled to really create much speaks volumes. We had to rely on a moment of individual brilliance from Robert Lewandowski and an inspiring performance from Ter Stegen to secure the win.
And you take a look at that Champions League match against Inter in midweek. We had 72% of the ball, but only managed to get a sniff of the goal. The fact that we lost the match after having so much possession is shocking, to say the least. Because, guys, if we had Messi on against Inter, not only would we have created more chances, we could have put some away as well.
But what do you think, guys? Considering all the factors we've discussed today, would you bring Messi back? Let us know in the comments down below. So if you like this video, guys, and you want to stay up to date with Xavi's Barca Dream Team, make sure to hit that notification bell. Subscribe to BDT, and we'll see you next time. Visca Barça!